Okay, we're going to jump straight into my really sketchy lawns. One, it's about 20 degrees out, so cold, blowing about 10, 15 miles an hour. And I tried to launch with the goggles on, pulling it up from the leading edge of the wing, and I had I apparently just had it banked too far to the right, so it just immediately dove at the ground. Luckily, I was launching from the top of the hill, so it dove down the side of the hill, and I managed to recover. I actually chopped the throttle for a moment because I thought it was going to hit the ground. Luckily, the hill gave me some room. Anyway, this is the second flight of this plane. The first one ended really badly, and I don't have a recording of it. I moved the CG forward about, what was it? It's about 3/8 of an inch from the marks on the wing. And anyway, you can see here it's flying fine. I realized that the current was completely wrong. Current meter was completely wrong, which I had spent a whole bunch of time figuring that out. And iNav got the current scaling factor all set, the offset set, everything was perfect. And then iNav just randomly reset it, as it sometimes does. It reset my I terms, it reset my stabilization rates, and apparently my current scaling factor. So anyway, after the flight, I charged the battery up and compared it with the total value here, where it says right now 108, 109 milliamp hours on the left there, and the scaling factor is a little over 5, so like 5.1. So figure I'm pulling actually 15 to 18 amps. And also I noticed I did not have speed on the screen. And so I looked at the total distance, which I do have over on the lower right side, and the total flight time. And you'll see there, total distance is over 3 miles, and I'm coming up on 3 minutes. I'm actually still a ways away from 3 minutes. So it's going at least better than 60 miles an hour. When I checked it at the end of the flight, it was 7.2 miles in almost exactly 6 minutes, which works out to 72 miles an hour. Let's see what else here. Yeah, so that was the average for the whole flight, was 72 miles an hour, pulling 15 something amps. 6 minute flight, I think I used 15, what did it say, 1530 milliamps is what the charger put back in, so probably a little less than that. Okay, the other thing here, there's a very slow, it's constantly trying to roll to the right a little bit. I think I've got a little warp in one of the elevons. I've got really high I terms and I term windup, so it should be able to hold itself against that aerodynamic twist or whatever, which it is mostly doing, but if I just go hands off, it'll slowly roll to the right. So I'm constantly having to give it a little bit of left. The main thing here is the control arms on the servos are really short, so it has to move the servos a lot to get any movement out of the surfaces, which means that all of the input rates here I'm flying are 100% for aileron and elevator, and in the iNav stabilization rates, which is tuning menu rates, I set roll to 360 degrees per second and pitch to 180 degrees per second. Basically half the roll. I increased my P terms, my I terms are very high. They're like 35, 40, something like that. Feed forward is also quite high. So feed forward is really just a manual override over the stabilization. So even if the stabilization is doing nothing at all, your feed forward will, by the way, that blotch on the right is a snowflake. I'm flying in the snow. feed forward is basically manual override on top of stabilization. iNav has focused a lot of effort on tuning the feed forward to make it feel more like you're flying it manually, I guess. I don't really care much about feed forward. I want it to feel really locked in. So here you can see that it's blowing 10 to 15 miles an hour. It's actually coming sort of diagonally across the ridge. So the air is quite turbulent, and it's mostly stabilizing fine. Here I'm coming in for the landing. I've cut the power completely, and I'm going to glide right past where I'm standing. And then I go throttle up a little bit, just a tiny bit, and then I'm throttle off right here, and it's a full football field length that I'm gliding across the field, nose up, and finally on the ground.